Welcome to Rising Tides, the business podcast where we explore how business professionals across industries make waves and rise above the competition. Join Angela Merziff and myself, Kim Hayden, as we talk to inspiring business professionals from entrepreneurs to executives about the strategies and tactics they use to get ahead. From their failures to their successes, you'll get an inside look at what it takes to make it in the business world today.
Morning, Kim.
Good morning, Angela. How are you today?
Good. You feeling better?
I am.
Last week?
I am. Last week I was, and guess what? I gave it to my husband. He's feeling wicked today.
Keeps on giving.
Absolutely. If you can't share with your spouse, who are you going to share with? Oh, sorry. That's, everybody, all the other people are going, oh, thank God I'm not married to her. I'm excited today. This gal is kind of speaking my language, around the whole empowered women. You know how I talk about this a lot about how do we get banks to give us loans and how do we build our businesses faster and how do we do all this? And I'm excited to sit back and just listen to how you come in from the branding perspective, from that foundational piece and start that language. Because I think that, as you've said, this seems to be kind of a component a lot of us miss. Like, the people like me, I'm the one running through the fields going, I'm going to do this, right? And you're the one going, okay, wait a minute. Let's put all the pieces in place. And I think we're going to get a lot of good information today.
Yeah, I really do too. I'm excited to listen and learn from our next guest.
Awesome. Speaking of next guest, our next guest is Dr. Heather Backstrom. Ooh, this is a cool name. Dr. Heather Backstrom is an accomplished coach, facilitator, and speaker. She's passionate about the cultivating empowered women leaders. She wrote a book, Collaborative Confidence: How Women Leaders Can Activate Self-Awareness, Amplify Their Authentic Talents, and Accelerate Workplace Change, to be an enduring bond between women that propel them forward together. She coaches leaders at all levels, including C-suite, vice president, and director. She enjoys traveling and has floated on the Dead Sea, walked on the Great Wall of China, and ridden in a hot air balloon over Stockholm, Sweden. I just want to be in her. I want to be in her suitcase.
Yeah, exactly.
Heather, is there room in your suitcase?
There absolutely. Yes, there's room in my suitcase. And as I was just mentioning when we were settling for the show, I was in your home country just last week in Vancouver, Canada. So another place of traveling. So it was beautiful to be there and had a terrific time.
Good. And you came in the right season too.
Oh,
I know you're in California, so I think it would be a shock to the system to come here in the winter. So well done.
Yeah. Probably so. Yes, I've lived in California most of my life. So yes, I did pick the right time and the a beautiful part. Well, Canada's gorgeous everywhere, but Vancouver just was pristine last week when I was there.
Yeah, it's very pretty there. I love the ocean there. We don't have any ocean here, so we're landlocked.
Yeah,
but we do have mountains. We have beautiful mountains. If you're ever out this way, you must see those.
The Colorado of Canada. That's what we are.
Totally are. Well, welcome to the show. I've got lots of questions. I'm very curious about everything you're doing, and I want to dive right in. But before I ask you about your book and your workshops and what you're doing and how you're working with folks, I would love to know a little bit about your journey into how you got into executive coaching and leadership development.
Sure. Yes. I'd love to share that story. And thank you again for inviting me to be in this conversation with the two of you. I'm looking forward to what I learned from you two and where the conversation leads us today. So thanks for inviting me to be part of your podcast. So my journey into executive coaching, facilitation, speaking, etc., it came out of corporate human resources. So I worked in corporate HR for a long time in some pretty large organizations. And for a good number of those years, I enjoyed human resources. I found it interesting, I felt fulfilled by it. Then, as often can happen in one's journey of their career, I started to become more interested in human development type of work, in coaching, training, working with teams, etc. And as that interest was growing, my work in human resources started shifting more toward performance management, writing people up for poor performance, terminating people, laying people off, investigations. What we refer to in the States, I don't know if it's different in Canada, but employee relations oriented work. So less human-centric work and more, negative work from my perspective. So anyway, that shift was happening. So I knew I wanted to become an executive coach and go into that line of work. So I went and got my doctorate. I became certified as a coach and got some other certifications to prepare myself to move into a coaching and leadership development type of role. And the intention originally was to just get employed by another company, just to move and get employed in that capacity by another organization. But sometimes life, things happen that we don't plan for. And I just didn't, I would apply and I never got hired, let alone interviewed anywhere. Fast forward to the end of my HR life. I was working in human resources. I was really depleted at that point. I mean, work just drained me every single day. And the universe intervened because I made a mistake at work. I got written up for the mistake. So one of those written warnings that I had issued to so many people over the years, I was the recipient of that. Completely owned up to the mistake. Yes, I did it, And that was the little, last little poof of the universe nudging me to, you need to really do something different. You've been wanting to do this for years. And now this is, that was the last thing that made me decide to go ahead and quit my job. And I quit completely without any clients or anybody lined up at all. I also thought about, before I quit the job, I thought, well, Heather, you don't want to lay on your deathbed and say you didn't even try. So I did not want to have that regret at the end of my life. So I thought, I'm miserable, I feel miserable, and I know I don't want to have that regret. So at least try. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. And you get to say that you gave it a shot and you tried. So anyway, yeah, I quit my job, no clients, didn't know what I was doing. I'm here 9 years later. In some ways, I still am learning what I'm doing. But that's the journey into moving out of corporate HR into leadership development, executive coaching oriented work.
Wow. So a bit of a happy accident, the entrepreneurial space that you're in now.
Yeah.
Didn't plan it, but here you are.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I love what you said, at least try. Like, you can always do something else, right? I think a lot of us are just afraid to even try something that's out of our comfort zone.
Exactly. And for me at that point, the pain of remaining in human resources, it was so strong and so visceral for me. Just every cell in my body, this was not the work for me. So the pain, the thought of staying in that pain versus the fear of going forward, like the fear was the easier choice, frankly. Like, I would rather move into that fear, into that unknown, than continue to live in that pain and that misery. And I wasn't doing, I wasn't doing anybody any favors, if you will, by continuing to remain in a job where I wasn't happy.
True. You probably were not performing as well as you would have wanted to, right?
Yeah.
You were giving it your all. And it kind of sounds like you wanted to shift from something that had turned really negative to something positive, right?
Exactly.
You were dealing a lot with the negative stuff, like firing people and all that kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. I feel, yeah. So what was, if I can ask, so you quit your job, you didn't have any clients right away. You decided to go out on your own and give it a try.
Mm-hmm.
What was the toughest part about building your brand from scratch and getting your first clients? What did that look like in the beginning?
Well, it was scary, and particularly that first year was very scary. I didn't know where my clients would come from, where my income would come from. I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know how to create a company or a business or the paperwork, anything, So I had to talk with other people or figure it out on my own. And even things like, how do I track expenses and receipts and things like that for taxes, etc. And the way I got my first client, I was very fortunate because I had a friend that I went to grad school with, and he works in the credit union industry. And he does a lot of strategic planning and member strategy work in the credit union space. And so because of him, I had been introduced to some credit union folks, and I knew that there was a HR credit union association. So I started attending these luncheon meetings of the credit union HR professionals. And one day at one of these meetings, I sat down and I literally sat next to a woman who was the VP of HR at a credit union. We got to chatting, we introduced ourselves, and she says, "Oh, we've been looking for a coach." And that turned, yes, exactly. I love the look on your face, Angela, as I tell this story. And so that turned into a phone conversation and into an in-person meeting, and voila, my very first coaching client ever. So that one happened very organically, and I'm so grateful for it. And then from there, working with that credit union on a long-term basis, and then other credit unions started coming in as well. So for the first few years of my business, a lot of my work came out of the credit union industry. Now I work in a lot more different industries, and I'm so grateful. And I still work with credit unions, and I'm so grateful for that foundation and that basis that I had at the beginning when I started as an executive coach.
Oh, there we go. I would say that we're both muted. Well, there's a little bit of feedback, so I've been muting us in between. I would say that and then from there
Yes.
is one of the biggest challenges most women have, because we bootstrap and we struggle, and if we're coming from, and I think a lot of women post-pandemic or through the pandemic are coming from this, like, I really don't want to be back in this negative space. I don't want to be there, so forth and so on. But they're also coming from almost like they have to overcome their own personal limitations
Yes.
because their psychology, they've been beat up, they've been dragged down, they've spent 2 years too long in a position, right? Just trying to make ends meet. I
Yes.
think it was Gary Vee said he can't believe how many people are in a job they hate, paying for stuff they don't need so that they can impress people they don't like.
That's a great trifecta. Yes.
Yes. And I think when you get out and you become your own boss and you create a job you love, you start valuing what you have, and you surround yourself with people you like.
Yes, exactly.
So that's the flip side to Gary Vee. I watched one of his things. I just kind of, if we had to beep him, that would be hilarious. It'd be like, blah, 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 beep, blah, 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 beep. But, okay, I'm tuning out. But I love that. And then from there, and that's a big one. How do you continue the momentum and build a business?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about both the challenges and the opportunities that you see for women in those leadership roles today. What is both sides?
Yeah, the challenges and opportunities for women. Yes. And so in answering that question, I will also add in. So now today, I really specialize. My niche is working with women leaders, usually around the vice president level or so. And how I came to that we'll be answering at least part of that question. Is I've been coaching women who were very capable, talented, experienced, and I would sit in front of them and they would doubt themselves and they would question themselves. And inside, I'm thinking, you are so talented, and look at all the expertise you have, and look at all the decisions you make, and look at all that you're responsible for. And why are you questioning yourself? But then I'd also turn the mirror on myself and ask myself that question. Why do I doubt myself? And why is my confidence not always as steady and as strong as I would like it to be? So that, as I came to that, all of that really became illuminated for me, I gravitated towards specializing in working with women leaders, coaching women leaders, and ultimately writing this book, Collaborative Confidence. So an opportunity for women, and I hold my hand up as I say this. I'm looking in the mirror as I say this, and I think confidence is one of those aspects, one of those opportunities for women. And I want women to feel confident in a way for them that feels authentic and genuine and real. And it's like their confidence wraps them like in a nice, warm, like cozy cashmere blanket, that it just feels so good and it feels like at home, and that they can hold that confidence anywhere they are, with any group, any individual. So one opportunity for women is around believing in themselves, building their confidence, and being able to do it in relationship with other women, which is a real center point of my book, Collaborative Confidence, where I'm responsible for my own confidence and I'm responsible for helping other women with their confidence. So there's this reciprocity, this sisterhood, this championing of myself and championing of you as another woman and other women in my life, in our lives. So that's an opportunity for women. I also think related to that are some other concepts around self-promotion. You know, women tend to be, and again, I'm speaking to myself just as much as anybody who's listening. Women tend to shy away or feel, uncomfortable with self-promotion. So finding a way to self-promote, to self-advocate, to show your credibility, and to do it in a way, again, that's authentic and that's genuine, and that you don't have to run and hide from it. And then one other opportunity I will also add in here is women, I think, tend to often act in the workplace a lot more tactically rather than strategically, big picture, look at the big view. And I think as women, we have been habituated, many of us, since we were little girls, about work hard, do the right thing, finish the assignments, and the harder you work, the greater you'll be recognized, which is true in a lot of parts of our lives and in a lot of portions of our lives. However, when we get into leadership positions, women really need to elevate out of that and into the bigger strategic, view of work, and less the more detail oriented, the more tactical I am, the more I have my head down, pen to paper, the better off, the harder I work, the better results I will get. It's actually the opposite as a person, and specifically a woman, gravitates up into those higher positions. And there is a quote by, I almost forgot her name, but she's a Stanford professor, Carol Dweck. I want to definitely give credit to and she's written many books specifically on growth mindset. And Carol Dweck says, if life were one long grade school, girls would rule the world. And I think that's so true. And especially when I think about and work with the women leaders that I work with, think bigger, think strategically, think big picture. Yeah.
Interesting. I hadn't thought about the tactic versus strategic thing for women leaders, but it's true. The higher up you get in your position, the more you're going to be delegating to other people, managing other people. And so that involves a lot of strategy work. You're not in there, you're not in the weeds usually doing the tactical things. Other people are doing that for you. You have to get good at managing that, right?
Yes.
And thinking about the future as well.
Yes.
Where do we go? So,
right. Yeah. Get good at managing that, and comfortable managing that as well.
Yes, comfortable as to people looking to you as the leader,
Yeah.
right? And having that confidence in yourself that you can then relay to other people. But it's so true what you say about the self-doubt. And I'm finding as I'm talk to more people in different positions and different levels of seniority and this and that and experience, years of experience, we all have it. And I was shocked and surprised. It's almost like the more you learn, the more imposter syndrome you get. I think we just want to all be excellent at what we do, which is great. But that imposter syndrome, that's a hard one to shake off a lot of times.
Mhm.
Yeah. So tell us. I know we touched upon the book that you've written, How Women Leaders Activate Self-Awareness, Amplify Authentic Talents, and Accelerate Workplace Change.
Mhm.
Can you tell us what inspired you to write that book? I mean, other than what you've talked about, what made you take action and write a book about this?
Yeah, so it was an iterative decision and experience. So I came up with this idea, collaborative confidence. So first, what ended up being the title of the book is actually what came to me first. And I was thinking about the women that I coach, and again, as I was also thinking about myself. We talked a moment ago about confidence. So I was reflecting on women and really holding their confidence. And then also reflecting on that I believe women want to be relational. We want to be in community with each other, right? We want to be in connection with each other. So I came up with the idea of collaborative confidence, and they just marry together. Literally, it came as a light bulb one day. I didn't sit down and do a bunch of research. I didn't do focus groups. It was just some concepts noodling around in my head. And one day, oh, collaborative confidence. And so I coined the term, and what the term means is I am responsible for my own confidence, and I'm responsible for helping other women with their confidence. So again, that reciprocity that I mentioned a moment ago. So that's where collaborative confidence came from. I then created a coaching program, a collaborative confidence coaching program for women. And then it seemed like a next natural step from that would be to write a book to help spread the word about this idea of collaborative confidence and how all of us can engage in collaborative confidence, even every single day.
Muted, Kim. Oh, there we go. I was muted. Yeah, I like what you say, that women want to be relational, and that's true. Like in our personal lives, do you find that changes once you hit the office or the boardroom? Like, do you find that we shy away from that, of the collaboration aspect as women?
Well, that's a fascinating question. What I find is that women, they still crave that connection in the workplace, even if it's with just only one other person, could be male or female. Since I wrote a book for women leaders, I'll probably speak more in that gender pronoun. However, I do believe that women really crave being in a relationship again with, even if it's just one other person. And typically, the higher a woman moves up in an organization, the more she becomes the only woman or close to the only woman in those higher ranks of an organization. And it can be really lonely when you're the only one, or you're the one of a small handful. And if I can share a quick story that really inspired some of the content of the book, and specifically the amplify pillar of the book. And I think this story helps answer your question about women and collaborating in the workplace. So it comes out of the Obama administration, President Obama's first administration. And in his first administration, the vast number of his cabinet leaders and high-level leaders of his team were men. And when there were meetings, the women cabinet leaders, found that they were getting talked on top of and interrupted, and they'd give an idea, and then 2 minutes later, Joe would give the same idea, and suddenly it was Joe's idea. I mean, I can see you nodding your head, Angela. It's such a relatable experience, right, for women. We've all had this happen. And so what the women did is they got together and they started what they called amplification. And full disclosure, this story really inspired the amplified pillar, as I said in my book, and their term was amplification. I use the term amplify. So they engaged in what they decided to call amplification. So what that meant was that in meetings, if a woman gave an idea, another woman made sure to repeat it and give credit back to that woman. Or if a woman got interrupted, they would redirect the conversation and say, oh, Angela didn't quite get a chance to finish. I'd like to hear what she had to say. So they amplified each other. They were collaborating, right? They were supporting each other. And they just did this kind of naturally and consistently. They weren't competing against each other. They didn't try to one-up each other. They were collaborating. And then some really wonderful things happened from this. Obama noticed, and he started calling on women. He started asking more of their opinions, getting their voices in the room. That was one change that happened. And then another change that happened, at least for certain meetings, he started inviting junior level aides into certain meetings. So in other words, people who normally wouldn't be included in certain meetings and have access to decision-making, strategy, et cetera, they were now being included. So their own, expertise and talents and knowledge was being expanded because they were being included because he was widening the net for at least certain meetings. And then when we fast forward to his second administration, there was much greater gender parity amongst the individuals in his cabinet and also the individuals who ran federal agencies under his administration. So that one story of amplification, I hope, illustrates for you and for the listeners how women can be in relationship with each other at the workplace simply by making sure that each other's voices are included in conversations and that credit is given to women, when they have an idea, a suggestion, a recommendation.
Yeah, that's smart what they did. They had each other's backs, and it sounds like it worked for them, right?
Yes.
How does someone do that in the workplace? I guess it's a matter of, approaching someone who, you have mutual respect for and saying, hey, do you want to do this with me? How does someone at the top kind of help women in their workplace actually be able to, be heard and have their ideas, considered and all that if it's not happening?
Sure. So I think one is exactly what you just said. You can approach somebody, a colleague, somebody who you perhaps already have a relationship with, you trust, and say, hey, well, can we watch out for each other? Yeah, I will elevate you and your voice, and will you please do the same for me? I think another is you can just start doing it in your very next meeting today. Just start paying attention to who was talked on top of or interrupted, or whose idea wasn't attributed to them, and just interject in the conversation. Oh, I'd like to go back to so-and-so. I didn't quite finish hearing what they said. Or that sounds like a great idea, Angela, that you just mentioned. So I think another is just organically, naturally just start doing it on your own. And then beyond that, there are many other ways beyond raising voices in meetings. There are lots of other ways to amplify women in the workplace. You can thank a woman publicly in a meeting or in front of a stakeholder for a contribution and accomplishment that she's done. You can include a woman in meetings or in strategy sessions that maybe she isn't included in. So you're raising her visibility. You can recommend a woman for a promotion or a stretch assignment. You can, when you're invited to a professional association meeting or a conference or the golf club or the philanthropic event, and you're able to bring a +1, maybe instead of bringing your partner, you invite a woman, a colleague in your office to be your +1 at any of those types of meetings or events. So I think that this idea of collaborative confidence and of amplifying other women can come in lots of forms and fashions.
Yeah, those are great ideas. A lot of those come from an area of just being aware of the problem. And hopefully, if you're a leader, you are aware of,
Yes.
what's going on around you so that you can step in and, what you started saying, what reminded me of that quote that talks about being the change you want to see in the world. It's kind of like
Yes.
that, like being that person that lifts other people up. And so it becomes like part of the culture almost that you're
Exactly.
creating. Yeah. So speaking of awareness and self-awareness in this case, how does self-awareness play into being an effective leader,
Mhm.
um, and um, knowing your strengths, your weaknesses, and being able to identify and overcome your blind sides as
Mhm.
well?
Mhm.
How does
Yeah.
that play in?
Yeah. Well, self-awareness, I think, is so foundational to life in general, right? Whether it's in the workplace or in your personal life. And some areas that I really encourage my clients to focus in on are looking at their values and identifying what are those top most important values that fulfill me, that drive me, that mean something to me. And when a person understands their values, then when those values get stepped on, when they're feeling, when the person is feeling, you know, they're not feeling good about who they are, or they are feeling like they continue to experience negative emotions, they can figure out, oh, my values are not being honored, that I am not allowing my values to be honored. So understanding your values is a great place to start with self-awareness, and then make choices that support and honor and respect those values. You also mentioned strengths. That's also a great way to raise your self-awareness. And an exercise that I encourage my clients to do to uncover their strengths, or to not just uncover, but also to really hone in and clarify their strengths, is for about a week or so, have a pad of paper or your tablet or whatever mechanism you care to keep notes on, and keep a running list of those activities where you feel energized and you feel uplifted and like, oh, time just goes so quickly, and just jot those down as they occur. And then on the flip side, jot down those activities that like just drain you. And you're like, oh, this is such a slog. And oh, this is so hard to do. And it's so difficult. And track those activities as well. And with each set of those activities, also track the emotions or the feelings that you have with them. So if one of your uplifting activities is writing, write down, well, what feeling does that give you? Does it give you the feeling of creativity, or does it give you the feeling of enthusiasm? On the flip side, if doing analytical work drains you, what is it about that analytical work that what's a feeling that drains you? And then after a week or two of having these lists, you go back, and then you can look for themes specifically in those activities that uplift you and that energize you. And when you look at themes of what that work represents, you can then identify values that come out of that. Now, the trick then is to minimize work that drains you, and to maximize and leverage the type of work that uplifts and energizes you. So that's one strategy that your listeners can use to hone in on and clarify their strengths.
Excellent. Yes. And then a good reason to hire an assistant for those things you don't want to do.
Exactly. Or to delegate, or right,
Delegate. Yeah.
exactly.
We can't all be great at everything. Like we just can't.
Right. And we can, and it's not realistic that we only do work that we really love. We're going to do work that drains us. However, if most of our work, 70%, 80%, whatever the definition of most is for each of your listeners, if most of your work is that energizing, strengths-based, uplifting work, and the smaller portion are the activities that drain you, you're probably in a pretty good position, because most of your work fulfills you.
Right. Yes. Of course. We will all want to be there in
Yes.
that space, right? Where most of
Yes.
it fulfills us and we love it and we're good at it.
Right.
Can you give us a bit of insight into how you work with clients, your coaching process? Tell us, I saw something on your website that talked about improv for teams, and that sounded super interesting to me. So I would love to hear about that, how that idea came about, if you have acting background or what, but that
Sure.
interested me.
Yeah.
Let us know a bit about.
Yeah, that was another, I guess, happy accident using what you said earlier about the improv. So I'll just talk about improv real quickly. So, and the reason I was in Vancouver, I was at an applied improv conference. So I was at a professional conference for people who use improv professionally in educational settings, business settings, et cetera, not theatrical improv. But at any rate, how I got into improv to begin with, I was getting my doctorate in organizational leadership. I really just wanted to laugh. Summer was coming. I wanted a break because my life was just work, school, gym, work, school, gym, work, school, gym. So somehow I thought, well, I'll take an improv class. I didn't know anybody who'd taken improv. I'm not an actor. I'm not an actor today. I wasn't an actor then. But somehow that idea just popped in my head. I live in the Southern California area. I Googled Improv Los Angeles, and I started taking classes at the Second City here in Hollywood. And I loved it. And I just laughed and I relaxed. And I loved it so much that I continued taking improv classes. And as I continued taking the classes, I realized, wow, there is like a life application to improv because you use skills like deep listening, making your scene partner look good, working with ambiguity, yes anding. So as I was doing this purely for my own fun and enjoyment, I was not pursuing acting. I discovered that I can use this with my clients. And so I started infusing improv activities into workshops that I facilitated. As time went on, I came to find out that there is an association of Applied Improv Network. And they are people like me, coaches, consultants, therapists, educators, etc., who use improv in an applied manner. In other words, again, to facilitate teams, to facilitate decision making, etc. So that's why, again, I was in Vancouver for the Applied Improv Network conference. Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. I love that story. I love when things just kind of fall together like that and you get these great ideas
Yes.
from just random things you've tried, right?
Right. Exactly.
I love that. And I love what you said about making your scene partner look good. I mean, isn't that part of collaboration too, and about speaking up for other people?
Absolutely. Right. And wouldn't work and life be so different if all of us strove
Yeah.
to make other people look good?
Yeah. I was at I'm part of one of the Chamber of Commerce around here, and I was at an event, and the leader of the chamber there was speaking just about what's going on and all that, and then one of the guests there, just kind of after she was done talking, just kind of said, I want to appreciate you and throw this out there that you've done such a great job and whatnot, just like holding her up.
Yeah.
And I thought that's really cool. Like and she's this lady is a leader in the community. She's a CEO. She's high up there, but it's like those kind of people that have that emotional intelligence to not only be seeking for themselves but also want to make their scene partner look good. Right?
Yes. Yes.
Those are the people that that all the good stuff comes back around to them.
It does. It does. And I think it speaks toward the whole belief in abundance and regeneration as well.
Yeah. Excellent. So before we cut out here, I want to ask you, is there any final tips that you would give to women leaders to be able to just strengthen their leadership roles, to slough off some of that self-doubt, overcome those challenges that they're having? Any final tips?
Yeah. Yeah. So first, I would one tip is to listen to that chattery voice, that of the doubt, of the lack of confidence, and become aware of it, and then just ask it to leave. Okay, I heard you. You can go away. I think we often sometimes just walk through life and we don't notice that voice, or it's with us so much it almost becomes invisible. But make it visible and then ask it to leave. So that would be one tip. And then another tip is starting today, look for opportunities to engage in collaborative confidence. Tell another woman about the Obama administration story. Go to another woman in your workplace or in your life and say, will you be my champion in these meetings or in these situations? And I will be your champion. Or watch for when somebody gets interrupted in a conversation and be that person that speaks up and says, I'd like to go back and allow so-and-so to finish what they were saying. So raising your awareness of that critical negative voice, asking it to leave, and then raising your awareness through simple actions, you can begin to engage in collaborative confidence with other people in your life.
Awesome. Yeah, I've even heard people take it a step further and give that voice in your head a name,
Yep.
actually name it and send it packing. Right?
Yes, exactly.
Love it. And we've got your website up here. So if y'all want to check out Heather and her work, the website is heatherbackstrom.com. You can find her there, as well as on LinkedIn by the same name. We thank you for everything you've given us here. There's a lot of great information, tips, and I'm sure the women listening here will have a lot of good stuff to chew on and to be able to even implement starting right now, to be able to become better leaders and to get their voices heard in their own workplaces.
Yes. Well, thank you for the opportunity.
I just want to pipe in real quick. You have a free chapter, is that correct? On your website, there's
Yes.
So tell us what the readers can expect when they go over and grab that free chapter.
So they'll get a complimentary chapter from one of the books, or excuse me, from one of the chapters of Collaborative Confidence. And once they get in touch with me or get in touch through you to me, then I will send them a PDF of that particular chapter.
And can they just get that on your website also? Is that like...
Currently it's not on the website, but if they contact you or contact me, my email is heather@heatherbackstrom.com. And if they mention the Rising Tides podcast, I'll be happy to email them the PDF of that chapter.
Awesome. Because we know everybody likes to get a little bit more like engaged. They know who you are.
Yes.
Now it's like, now they can learn, right?
Yes. Thank you for making sure that was included. Appreciate that, Kim.
Absolutely. I like my freebies.
And where can we get the whole book? Sorry, where can we get the whole book then? Is it in hard copy?
Yes. So the book, Collaborative Confidence, is available at all of your booksellers, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, etc. And there is both the Kindle version of it as well as the paperback version.
Excellent. I hope everybody goes out and gets that book. Sounds like it's packed with a lot of good information.
Okay. I love collaboration.
Yes.
Otherwise my house would never get cleaned. So it's exactly, you're preaching to the choir. Love everything you're saying, Heather. Everything you're saying.
Thank you.
All righty. Angela, is your cup full?
Absolutely. I love it. I mean, this whole podcast is about collaboration and raising the tides for everybody. So this is a perfect topic that we dove into today. So thank you for sharing, and thanks everyone for watching.
Excellent. All right, Heather.
All right.
You're a rock star. Love what you're doing.
You two are rock stars. And again, thank you for inviting me into the conversation. And thank you to all your listeners for tuning in.
Amazing. Thanks, Heather.
Bye for now. This show is sponsored by Be Bold Branding. Kick that yawn-inducing mission statement to the curb. Visit BeBoldBranding.ca and grab your Bold Manifesto workbook to create a bold message that connects. Thank you for joining us here at Rising Tides, your business podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment, and share, and you can follow